It's Monday, September 29th. This is CTV at 6. Here's what's making news tonight. A New Brunswick town scrambles to deal with a grocery store fire. Steering a new course for military aviation in the Maritimes.
Temperatures cool midweek with a chance of some showers. Overall, though, not a lot of rain over the next several days.
Live from our Maritimes News Center, this is CTV News at 6. Here is Todd Battis.
Good evening. We'll have those stories in a moment, but we begin with an emergency alert just issued for a section of the Annapolis Valley. What was a small wildfire being held near Lake George, that's just outside Aylesford, has suddenly reverted to being out of control. It's currently about 80 hectares in size. Natural Resources Nova Scotia is evacuating nearby homes and camps. Planes are being used to attack the flames. Now, we'll have more details when they become available, but I want to bring in CTV meteorologist Kaylin Mitchell right now, because, Kaylin, we were talking just before we came on the air about just how dry it is. Not only that, we've got gusty conditions, which of course only exacerbates the problem. Yeah, bad combination, very adverse when it comes to conditions to combat or contain wildfires. We're taking a look at dew point temperatures right now and behind me, and that is a measure of moisture in the air, and typically the lower these numbers are, the drier the air is. And you can see the numbers that are showing up and around the Annapolis.
The following is a message from the Canadian National Public Alerting System.
Evacuation order Lake George, Kings County wildfire Lake George area. Residents from the southern boundary of Lake George to the northern boundary of Lake George are to evacuate immediately. Residents of Lake George are to immediately evacuate due to risk of wildfire. Take your pets, important documents and enough medication, food and emergency supplies. An emergency reception center shelter is being established at the Lewis Millet Center New Minas. All residents are requested to register at the reception center.
Quick update on the storms keeping track of in the tropical Atlantic as well. We have Hurricane Umberto, Category 4 storm. That is going to be moving just to the west of Bermuda. Looks like it's going to bypass the island, and then it takes a path off towards the east, so away from the Maritimes. And then in behind that, we have Tropical Storm Imelda. That is more of a direct threat to Bermuda late Wednesday into Thursday. Could approach the island more directly as a hurricane, but then again, tracks to the east, away from the Maritime region. And I'll talk a little bit more about why that is, Todd, when I'm back later on. All right, thank you, Kaylin. We understand that the alert was going out just as you were speaking to viewers in parts of Nova Scotia, so if they missed anything, no doubt you'll be touching on that again in the full weather a little later. Thanks. The independent body that reviews police incidents is investigating after a man was shot and killed by an RCMP officer in Moncton Saturday after allegedly robbing a business, setting a house on fire, and shooting several rounds from a gun. CTV's Derek Haggett has the detail.
It was a violent and terrifying Saturday afternoon in this Moncton neighborhood.
The scariest moment of my life, probably the scariest thing that's ever happened to me.
Police responded to a report of a man robbing a nearby business with a firearm around 2 o'clock. The suspect then ran away and entered this home in the city's north end.
I see this guy just on the back porch, and he just starts banging away on the back door and shattered the glass. And as I'm running out of the house, because I was going to try and scare him off, but he flashed a gun.
Robbie Justison was home at the time, but fled.
I saw he had a gun, so I went and took off out the front door and heard the glass shatter on the back porch as I was getting out the front door and prayed to God.
Police say the intruder fired shots from inside, then lit both the house and a car on fire before attempting to run away. According to the RCMP, a member discharged their firearm at the suspect, and he was pronounced dead at the scene.
It is scary. It is scary. Because, I mean, this is usually a very quiet street, and today, Saturday, it's just anything but quiet.
It was calm 48 hours later, but the aftermath remains. The RCMP has requested the Serious Incident Response Team to review police actions. SiRT says it was told by the RCMP the man had attempted to break into another home, which is when police tried to make an arrest before they ultimately shot him. The Minister of Public Safety didn't want to comment on an active investigation, but did say this is such an unfortunate incident. The woman who owns the home was here this afternoon, but a neighbor told me that she's still pretty upset from Saturday's incident, and she's not quite ready to talk about it in public just yet. Todd.
All right, Derek Haggett for us in Moncton this evening. And we want to go back to that wildfire situation near Aylesford in the Annapolis Valley. We understand that an evacuation order is now in place, and an evacuation center has been opened at the Lewis Millet Center. That's in New Minas. So again, folks who are in the Aylesford area, you will likely be contacted if you are subject to that evacuation order. And there is a center that's opened up in New Minas. The Lewis Millet Center is an evacuation center for those people who are affected. Again, as soon as we have more details, we will bring those to you. Police are investigating a fire in Salisbury, New Brunswick. People are having to leave town to buy groceries after the only grocery store in that community burned on the weekend. The mayor is scrambling to find alternatives for locals. Our Nick Moore has the latest.
The call came in at around 5:15 Sunday morning. Walker's Your Independent Grocer in Salisbury, New Brunswick was on fire. In a few hours, the only grocery store in town, which employed more than 40 people, would be nothing but rubble. A few pumpkins and bags of garden soil, all that were spared.
And it's more than a grocery store. I think as it's starting to be absorbed, we're realizing that our friends and neighbors and family members, some of them that have worked there for 28 and 30 years, that all of a sudden they're out of employment.
It's really a hardship for a lot of seniors, and it's a big loss.
Alita Sabian always made an order for groceries at Walker's on Monday mornings.
And the guy picks it up in the afternoon and always delivers groceries for me. Now that's gone. It's heartbroken for everybody.
Nobody was injured. Firefighters and a fire wall helped to save the rest of the strip mall. There have been several recent fires in the area.
We have had an abnormal amount of fires that have been taking place lately, but again, we've also had the driest summer on record, so we really don't know for sure, but the fire marshal's office is investigating.
In addition to the fire investigation, there are also concerns about challenges with emergency communications on Sunday morning.
Throughout the day, we had multiple calls as well that our fire department trying to find addresses as well, not properly loading because of not having proper cell phone coverage.
The town is working on a plan to home deliver food and organize transportation to grocery stores for those who need it. Nick Moore, CTV News, Salisbury.
Well, there's no need to check the mailbox again today as job action by postal workers continues. They walked off the job when the corporation revealed it will cut services and jobs. And that has businesses and homeowners navigating the second strike in months. CTV's Vanessa Wright reports.
Canada Post workers picketing in Halifax's North End. Thousands across the country are doing the same as the second strike within a year is just getting started.
Not again, not again. And what am I going to do? What are we going to do?
Those were Sandra Roll's first thoughts. The business owner who relies on Canada Post to ship her handmade products says the strike will no doubt impact her business as it did the first time around.
The strike, it's quite substantial when it comes to our business, especially being a small business. We heavily rely on reliable delivery.
Workers walked off the job last week after Ottawa announced door-to-door mail delivery will end for nearly all Canadian households in the coming years, a move the union calls an attack on workers. Many businesses are still dealing with the fallout from the first postal strike, some even deciding to stop doing business with Canada Post altogether. East Coast Kicks, a Dartmouth-based sneaker store, is one of them.
Like a big thing for us is getting the packages to people, and if we can't rely on them to get them the packages, it's kind of useless for us to use at this point.
Canada Post says Canadians should expect delays as thousands of mail and parcels are no longer being processed or delivered.
It's disappointing because they didn't work it out the first time, but the relationship between the union and management has been acrimonious for decades.
I don't blame them. I understand it. Trust me, It's annoying. Hopefully that their voices are heard and that it comes to a resolution quickly.
Roll hopes she won't have to ditch Canada Post, which she says has been dependable up until now.
Don't want to give up on Canada Post, but we're left in this situation of saying, what are we going to do?
A question on the minds of many businesses nationwide. Vanessa Wright, CTV News, Halifax.
Last week it was Nova Scotia. Today, New Brunswick revealed a deficit. It ended the last fiscal year in the red. We get a breakdown of the numbers now from CTV's Laura Brown.
New Brunswick ended the last fiscal year with a $104.4 million deficit rather than a projected small surplus. That's despite the nationwide tobacco settlement landing the province $156 million, which went into general revenues.
This settlement was for costs that had already been incurred in the health system. We're being reimbursed for the healthcare system's burden related to tobacco.
He said the province is owed about $596 million under the lifetime of that agreement. But it's unclear how much or when more money will arrive. It all depends on how much the tobacco companies make. And there are factors that can impact that, the finance minister says.
There is a significant amount of illegal cigarettes in New Brunswick compared to other provinces. So that does impact profitability. So there's more variation in Atlantic Canada than some other provinces where the percentage is somewhat smaller.
New Brunswick's net debt has increased from $11.8 to $12.3 billion, which is about $14,400 per New Brunswicker. The largest spender, again, the Department of Health, which spent $337 million more last year than originally budgeted.
We also saw out-of-province costs exceed budget this year for New Brunswickers that required health services outside of the province. So much the same story that we've seen in the past, very difficult to predict, but those pressures remain.
HST revenues were lower in part because of the federal government's so-called GST-HST holiday in the winter. Those losses range between $62 and $70 million. And Todd, as for recouping some of that money that was lost during the GST-HST holiday that happened earlier this year, Legacy says they're still in discussions with Ottawa because they feel confident they can recoup at least some of that money. Todd.
CTV's Laura Brown at the legislature in Fredericton. Now, what impact could this have on the province's economic outlook? We'll ask the author of a new report just that. That interview coming up just a little after 6:30. And for more, you can visit the website ctvnewsatlantic.ca. A Halifax facility is getting a major boost from Boeing to help expand its flight training simulator program, including work on one of the most versatile aircraft in the skies. CTV's Jesse Thomas reports.
This production facility in Halifax is at the center of a new $1.4 million investment from Boeing. The funding is aimed at boosting Blue Drop training and simulations work towards designing and building flight simulators. These ones in particular will be sent to Albuquerque, New Mexico as part of the CV-22 Osprey program, a tilt-rotor aircraft widely used by the U.S. military.
We sell aircraft. We have a military aircraft component to the company, and this particular investment will help the V-22 Osprey in the way that it can train and ready the crews for future missions.
This training technology will help the U.S.'s Navy Special Ops team who fly the Osprey aircraft, but there are benefits here in Canada, like jobs. And this isn't the first partnership between Boeing and Blue Drop. Blue Drop has already developed training support software for Boeing's Globemaster military airplane and the Chinook helicopter. Training in the virtual world helps crews and cuts down on the wear and tear of the aircraft.
The advent of new technology and the level of fidelity we can have, this permits all kinds of training in a much safer and cost-efficient way.
Blue Drop is headquartered in Newfoundland but has a major footprint in Halifax, employing more than 180 people in Atlantic Canada. And this continued partnership with Boeing helps them ramp up production and grow here in Halifax as a leader in technology and defense work, says Premier Tim Houston, who was on hand for the announcement.
Training and simulation, it's so important for our defense sector, but for all sectors really, and we have a global leading company right here in Blue Drop, and it's really impressive.
The announcement comes as Canada prepares to take delivery of 16 new PA-8 Poseidon aircrafts from Boeing, creating another potential opportunity for Blue Drop to expand its simulator technology. Jesse Thomas, CTV News, Halifax.
15,000 visitors are flooding the Halifax waterfront over the next couple of days, with 10 cruise ships calling on the port. As our Jonathan McGinnis tells us, it exposes a need for another option to welcome those crowds of tourists.
All berths are spoken for along the Halifax waterfront over the next couple days. In fact, it's so busy, one of the 4 cruise ships in Halifax today has tendered in the harbor.
The town's beautiful, so clean, so well kept, and so, it's wonderful.
It's a gem. As the CEO of the Downtown Dartmouth Business Commission looks across the harbor, he envisions a time when ships will be tying up on this side, too.
HRM is currently working on a waterfront plan for Dartmouth, and that should come to fruition sometime in 2026. We'll have the plan, and then from there we'll know where cruise ship could possibly fit in on the Dartmouth waterfront.
As busy as it was today, tomorrow will be even more so, with 6 ships carrying close to 10,000 passengers scheduled to call on the city. That will be the most ships in one day all season, according to the Port of Halifax.
If we had 20 to 30 days of cruise ship passengers, a portion of them wandering around downtown Dartmouth, it would help our small businesses, our restaurants, cafes.
Rosesco also believes that Dartmouth Terminal would open up tourism opportunities in other areas of the province and add to what is already a $200 million industry.
There's a lot to offer on this side of the harbor and in eastern Nova Scotia for cruise ship passengers to experience.
Officials with the Port of Halifax say they are supporting the city's plan to look at developing the Dartmouth waterfront. In the meantime, they're preparing for unscheduled arrivals later this week, as 2 ships have added Nova Scotia to their itineraries in order to avoid a hurricane and a tropical storm out at sea. Jonathan McGinnis, CTV News, Dartmouth.
Get the Maritime's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
Longtime Nova Scotian MLA Alfie MacLeod has died after a lengthy bout with cancer. He was first elected in 1995 in the former riding of Cape Breton West, and then again in 2006, serving in the Province House until 2019. Premier Tim Houston described MacLeod as a beloved and proud son of Cape Breton, a devoted family man, and dedicated public servant. Alfie MacLeod was also president of the Nova Scotia PC Party and Speaker of the House. He was 69 years old. Longtime Senator Donald Oliver was laid to rest on the weekend. A ceremony celebrated the lawyer, businessman, and politician, a man known as a mentor and champion of Nova Scotia's black community. Here's our Hafsa Arif.
In song, in poetry, and in speeches, Nova Scotians said farewell to Donald Oliver. His funeral, part solemn remembrance, part celebration of a man who broke barriers in Canadian politics. His nephew Peter James read aloud a poem written by Oliver's sister. He also shared a message from Prime Minister Mark Carney.
Oliver's legacy lives on in the institutions he helped shape and in the countless lives he touched.
Many who came say Oliver's fight for equality left an enduring legacy.
He always had time to share, to give advice. The message, for future generations and for us to hold on to beyond his passing is very much in line with the title of his memoir. It's a matter of equality.
From political leaders to community members, the day marked both history and a call to carry his torch forward.
It was a historic day today. His impact, his legacy, the indelible mark that he's left on the generation, we are better, richer because of him.
For young people especially, Oliver's life opened doors.
Really inspired a lot of people and a lot of young people. And for me, it meant the world to be able to see myself in law and politics. What he's done is really just groundwork and foundation work for us to continue to see progress.
Donald Oliver, remembered as a senator, mentor, and a champion of justice. His community rose Saturday to say thank you. Hafsa Arif, CTV News, Halifax.
And he was a friend of this broadcast, always made time to talk to us. He'll be missed. Still to come, just a few clouds around tonight. Kayla Mitchell will have those details, but next, some good news for campgrounds.
Right before we were closing up shop, someone came flying in asking to buy firewood and saying the ban was lifted.
After months of restrictions, some burn bans have been lifted. We'll have that story when we come back. Recap what we started the show with. There is an evacuation order in effect for Lake George, Kings County. That is near Aylesford. There's an evacuation center that has opened up in New Minas. While that is going on, this happened at the same time. After a couple of months after it was imposed, the government of Nova Scotia has lifted the province-wide burn ban for many areas. That's good news for campgrounds, as CTV's Callum Smith found out.
You can make it all, but if you can't sell it, what's the good to make it?
Chopping up kindling and firewood is part of Clark Hamilton's job, so it's been a pretty slow camping season given Nova Scotia has been under a burn ban since July 30th.
I make a percentage on the wood because I handle it all and do it, so it has put me out of little cash money here and there.
But the ban hit where he works even harder, the LaHave River Campground in Lunenburg County, in part due to a flood of cancellations after it was implemented.
There's obviously a loss of revenue on the business side of things and loss of firewood sales and loss of people that will come camping without a fire.
It goes two ways for me. It sucks because my kids really enjoy the campfire and having the s'mores and all those things and the experience of that. But for me personally, I just... being surrounded by the woods and knowing how dry everything was, to me, it was peaceful.
People had opted to go with propane fire pits instead. But there's good news for the final 2 weeks of the campground's season. The fire pits are back.
I found out on Friday night, right before we were closing up shop, someone came flying in asking to buy firewood and saying the ban was lifted.
The provincial government made the announcement that evening, no more burn ban, except in Annapolis County, where the devastating wildfire is now deemed under control.
I think people in the county are very supportive and understanding of it, but at the same time I can understand people's frustration where they want to try to move forward and they want to be able to have a fall burn.
The ban is expected to be dropped there October 15th. Back at the campground, the lifting of it is good news, but perplexing.
It was a lot of disbelief at first after multiple press conferences this season where the Premier said it would take days and days of rain for it to be lifted. We get a sprinkling that's less than 10 millimeters and out of nowhere with no notice, late on a Friday night, it's been lifted.
People still need to check the province's burn safe map to determine what time burning is allowed each day. Callum Smith, CTV News, Bars Corner, Nova Scotia.
Well, we'll talk about weather after this next break. It's supposed to be breezy tomorrow with a chance of some spotty showers. Kaylin Mitchell will be back. We'll get an update on Kings County, and we'll have the rest of the region's weather as well. It's a beautiful sunset on the south shore of Nova Scotia, 629, 23 degrees right now at Lunenburg Harbor, but we want to concentrate right now on the other side of the province up in Kings County in the Annapolis Valley. And I mentioned that a lot of folks may not have heard a portion of what you were talking about because the alert came up about the fire near Lake George. The moisture, as we went to break, we talked about the potential for showers. This is not likely to do a whole lot to help that particular spot.
That's right. Unfortunately, aside from a few shower chances, it's looking like a relatively dry week ahead for the Maritimes. There's also still going to be some issues when it comes to the winds. Let's take a quick look at what's going on as far as those tropical weather systems go, because I talked a little bit about this as well. Basically, we're not counting on either of these systems to bring the region any sort of moisture or rain. I mean, we wouldn't want the other impacts of a tropical storm or a hurricane, but we can't count on them either to bring us rain, because both of them are going to be held well to the east of the region by an area of high pressure that's going to be building in from Quebec throughout this week. What we could see from those tropical weather systems is an increase in wave action around the Atlantic coastline of Nova Scotia late Wednesday into Thursday, and the potential as well for an increase in rip current activity as well around the coast because those ocean storms are going to be producing quite large waves. Again, the largest of the waves look like they'll be around some of the outermost marine district areas or just outside of it, but some increased wave action around the Atlantic coastline of Nova Scotia. Both weather systems so far enough east that we won't be seeing much of the weather from them. Taking a look at the forecast timeline for tonight, likewise, most of the Maritimes likely to be dry tonight. There is a band of some broken cloud cover dipping north to south across the region. There is a very low chance of spotty showers underneath those clouds, and any precipitation that does fall is going to be on the lighter side. And mostly that chance of precipitation is northern areas of New Brunswick, the east of that province, Prince Edward Island, northern eastern areas of Nova Scotia. I'd put a chance of a shower in the vicinity of that wildfire for either tonight or tomorrow at around 10%. Taking a look at the timeline into Tuesday afternoon, there is expected to be some isolated showers to develop around the east of New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, northern eastern areas of Nova Scotia. But once again, those are going to be very light, and it'd be pretty lucky to see a couple of them get into the vicinity of the Annapolis Valley. And there are the winds. They've been gusty today. It's been dry air in place today. The winds have been gusty. Of course, we know that's not ideal for wildfires. The winds are going to remain gusty over the next couple of hours before they diminish towards midnight, but it's not like they're going to become light overnight. They stay on the breezy side both tonight and for Tuesday. The wind direction will change. It's going to be a northwest wind, but some gusts expected between 20 and 40 kilometers per hour. That's down a little bit compared to today, where we had gusts between 40 and 50. Frost advisory out for the northwestern corner of New Brunswick tonight, where some low temperatures will dip down to the low single digits. So that'll bring about a risk of frost, especially at low-lying elevations. A look at low temperatures in the forecast for tonight shows that most lows for the Maritimes, high single digits, low teens, except cooler than that in the northwest of New Brunswick. Highs in the north of New Brunswick for tomorrow, for most, between 13 and 16 degrees, so up to 18 for Miramichi, 19 for Fredericton for tomorrow, 20 for St. John, and then 18 degrees for Moncton in the southeast. Prince Edward Island for tomorrow with high temperatures of 16 to 18 degrees. In the east of Nova Scotia for Cape Breton, it's highs of 15 to 17. High teens for the North Shore and the eastern shore of the mainland. Northern and central areas of Nova Scotia with highs between 18 and 20 degrees. And in the southwest of Nova Scotia, high temperatures, high teens and low 20s. In the 7-day outlook for New Brunswick, so again, chance of some spotty showers for tomorrow. Scattered showers on Wednesday, but again, it's just showers. And then cool through Thursday and Friday, but both days sunny and dry. And into the start of the weekend, continues to be dry before we have a chance of showers on Sunday. For Nova Scotia as well, it's some scattered showers in the forecast for Wednesday. Cooler temperatures, though, both Wednesday and Thursday. Sunshine for Friday and Saturday. And then our next chance of showers will come on Sunday. And for Prince Edward Island in the forecast, some scattered showers expected on Wednesday. Temperatures cooling off. They stay cooler for Thursday with a mix of sun and cloud. Sunshine for both Friday and Saturday. Warmer temperatures for the start of the weekend. After that, the next chance of showers on Sunday, Todd.
Okay, we'll see you at the end of the show, Kaylin. Thank you. Next, we will take a look at an economic outlook for Canada, and in particular, Atlantic Canada. Will growth go up or down? We'll tell you about it after this.
Okay, so we're not in tomorrow, but Virgin Radio's 5K a day will resume on Wednesday.
Get your keywords starting with us at 7 a.m.
And at 7:30 is your shot at $100 in groceries.
Welcome back. As you saw earlier in the newscast, New Brunswick is forecasting a deficit for the fiscal year to the tune of $105 million. Deloitte Canada has released its economic outlook, the fall outlook for the country. It gauges the fiscal health of the country, and the regions included, of course, Atlantic Canada. Don Desjardins is chief economist at Deloitte Canada and our guest this evening. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you, too.
Okay, right off the top, I love this. I'm going to get you to explain this. The title, it's complicated. The conditions required for Canada's economic comeback. Why is it complicated?
Well, it's complicated because we're living in an extraordinary period with respect to uncertainty and with governments, I guess, outside of Canada that are having a material impact on our outlook, and how we navigate and work our way through this period is not straightforward. So in other words, it's complicated.
So do you build that into your forecasting? I mean, here you have an American president who just today announced 100% tariffs on the film industry. We had kitchen cabinets last week, pharma last week. Who knows what it could be next week?
What we've done is we are maintaining an assumption that any goods that Canada sells or exports to the United States, as long as they are compliant with the Canada-U.S.-Mexico Free Trade Agreement, that they will continue to go across that border relatively tariff-free. Now, we know that certain industries are being impacted by different types of tariffs, and those ones remain in place. And so we have to add that to the mix. Again, part of this complicated story, add that to the mix as well. But when we've calculated it, what we've discovered is that on average, the effective tariff rate for Canada is a little below 3%. So compared to other countries, it's not that bad. But again, that's a pretty big assumption we're making with this projection.
There's been much speculation. In fact, many have said it's almost certain that Canada's going to go into recession. You think we could avoid it? May not happen?
Yeah, we do now. And I mean, we had a recession call 3 months ago. Since that time, I think we've seen a few things that suggest to us that we may avoid recession. Now, we're not calling for strong growth by any means, but we do think we might avoid another contraction. And there's quite a few factors involved in that. One is that we are seeing interest rates move down again. The Bank of Canada cut the policy rate in September. We think they probably will do so again in October. So getting that rate to 2.25%. So just a little bit more support for Canadian households who may be refinancing their mortgages, for example, or for Canadian businesses who are looking to borrow. Again, we have those carve-outs, and that to us keeps Canada's export market. It's not going to be soaring by any stretch, but it will hopefully recover some of that enormous loss that we suffered in the second quarter. Additionally, what we're hearing from governments, and as you said earlier, New Brunswick reporting a deficit, governments are very much trying to put in place programs that will be supportive of the economy, ranging from the reduction in interprovincial trade barriers, which our analysis suggests over time, so again, not immediately, but over time, could be a big lift to GDP, as well as what we're hearing from the federal government, which we won't know for sure the details until November's the 4th budget, but nonetheless, talk about infrastructure spending. So these are the factors we think that tilt the scales towards avoiding recession.
Less concerned about those deficits?
Well, yeah, I mean, we look at it in a global context, even though our deficits are growing. Our biggest trading partner has an extremely big deficit that is continuing to grow. So, yes, we have to be mindful. We don't want to go back to any mid-90s type of situation where we were really having to pay up to attract capital to finance our deficits. And I think, all of the ground we've made over the past few decades puts us in a better spot. But having said that, yes, of course, we'll have to be mindful of how big these deficits get and when the return on all of these investments start to flow in.
I know that you've looked at each region in the country, so let's look at Atlantic Canada. In terms of growth, there's a little bit of good news and bad, depending on what province you're in.
Yes, for sure. And so when we're looking at on a provincial basis, where we are seeing some pressure is in Brunswick, actually. We have lumber tariffs there that are being impacting that economy. They send a lot of their exports to the U.S. When we look at Nova Scotia, though, we're seeing lots of public sector stimulus that is going to be, we think, supportive for the economy. So when we look at 2026, for example, Nova Scotia coming in at about 2%, PEI 1.9%, Newfoundland 2%, and then again, when we look at New Brunswick, it's going to be stronger than 2025. We have at 1.6%, but still, of the 4 provinces, a little bit on the slower side.
All right. Before I let you go, if I'm sitting at home and I'm worried about my own budget and I'm looking at the price of groceries and power bills, whatnot, but I'm hearing what sounds like rather encouraging news from you, how do I reconcile that?
Well, I mean, I think what we're seeing now is there are pressures on inflation, but when we look overall, the inflation rate running about 2%. Now, the thing about the economy is even though we are projecting growth, in 2026 that is firmer than this year, we still have a lot of spare capacity in the system. And to our minds, that means that we will see price pressures ease. Now, when I say that, to be completely clear, it means they'll grow more slowly. It doesn't mean we're going to see big declines in prices, but more on average, price gains will be limited to that about 2% rate.
Don Desjardins of Deloitte, thank you very much for that. It's an interesting, the fall outlook, interesting. People can find it at your website, and we appreciate you explaining that to us tonight.
Thank you.
We'll take a break. Much more of your show on the other side. In health news tonight, a sign of the fall season happens every year. Doctors urging Canadians to get their flu shots, especially kids, seniors, those with lung conditions. CTV's Amanda Debison has the details in tonight's edition of Lifeline.
Doctors are urging people to get vaccinated as flu season approaches.
The shots become available in most provinces and territories at various points in October. A doctor with the Lung Health Foundation says young children, seniors, and people with asthma and COPD are at especially high risk of severe illness from influenza. She says while the flu vaccine can reduce the risk of getting sick, it's most effective at making infections that do occur milder and preventing hospitalization. It takes about 2 weeks for that protection to take hold after getting the shot. Finally, fall can be a tough time of year for allergy sufferers. As the leaves change color, those allergens pollinate and continue to be in the air until the first hard frost. Dr. Jessica Hui says symptoms can include nasal congestion, runny nose, and itchy, watery eyes. To limit pollen exposure, Dr. Hui says to change clothes after being outdoors, shower to get pollen off your skin and out of your hair, keep windows shut as much as possible, avoid going outside in peak pollen times from late morning to mid-afternoon, and to clean the vents in your home and change air filters.
These are all things that not only are great for your home, but can get rid of the different allergens that have kind of accumulated there throughout the year.
And if you're already feeling those fall allergy symptoms, Hui says over-the-counter and prescription nasal sprays can help, as can oral medications like antihistamines. With Health and Medical News, I'm Amanda Debison for the Lifeline.
Katie Kelly is off. The scene will return later in the week. A Canadian naval veteran found a unique way of overcoming adversity while also being of service. Now his hard work is set to be displayed in museums across the country. We get that story from our colleague on the West Coast, CTV's Adam Swatsky.
Yvonne LaHoo doesn't need to watch a classic war movie on his phone.
My God, it was so well done.
To remember how the longest day inspired him as a kid to craft discarded cardboard into toy tanks.
And I would put a firecracker and make it realistic. I would blow the tank apart.
Yvonne never outgrew his interest in the military, and at 19, enlisted in the Navy.
So I've never seen the ocean before, and this would be a great thing to see the world.
While he proudly served at sea for the next 30 years, Yvonne started struggling after he retired.
I was suffering from trauma and PTSD, but my brain started playing tricks on me.
Until he happened upon this picture of a Second World War ship that he couldn't get out of his head.
Wow. The ship was named after my own town, and I didn't know about this.
But Yvonne did feel, for the first time in a long time, inspired.
I says, I'm gonna build it.
Had you ever built anything like this before?
No.
So he thought of how he once was as a kid, before contacting a naval museum, requesting a copy of the ship's blueprints, and started handcrafting countless components from wood and began building a boat from scratch.
The light bulb comes on, and I says, yes, and it works.
And after spending almost 500 hours in his garage, Yvonne felt transformed.
I was pretty amazed with myself on how it turned out.
So he made 8 more, supporting his recovery and inspiring a renewed sense of purpose through service.
To build as many lost or forgotten Canadian warships and bring them back to life.
And now Yvonne's donating his first model to his hometown and the others to museums to honor the sailors who worked on them and inspire the civilians served by them.
They all have a story to be told.
Adam Sawatsky, CTV News, Surrey.
With Crash and Sarah Betts.
Hey, tomorrow is, of course, a day to listen, so tune in for that all day starting at 6.
Everything you love, like Dream Big and Beat the Bank, all coming back on Wednesday.
On the markets, the Dow Jones opened the trading week in New York essentially flat. In this country, TD Bank unveiled its plan to build back after a money laundering scandal south of the border. BNN Bloomberg's Marilla Fernandez with more on that.
TD Bank is promising to slash costs and boost revenue under its new CEO. Raymond Chun is looking to deliver $2 to $2.5 billion in annual savings, in part by automating and using artificial intelligence. The bank is also looking to grow its wealth management business and plans to hire 1,200 new advisors in Canada. Here are the closing numbers for the day. The Canadian dollar is up to 71.83. West Texas Intermediate crude is down over $2 to 63.01. Western Canadian Select is up to 53.73, and the TSX shot up to another record close, ending the day at 29,971. Those are your business headlines. I'm Marilla Fernandez.
Kellen Mitchell outside with one more look at tomorrow.
Yeah, and if it wasn't for the fact that it's getting dark out here, it could have been a late August night out here on the north end, in the north end of Halifax on the weather deck, because it is so mild out right now. Now, I am noticing the wind is easing up a little bit. That's important. We really need those wind speeds to come down, especially in the Annapolis Valley area of Nova Scotia, Kings County, where they're contending with that wildfire. Let's take a look at our picture for tonight, and this picture is actually coming in from last week as a weather front was moving through. You might remember that very warm, very humid day we had towards the end of the week. This is some altocumulus clouds making for a nice sunset here. This is from Roberta Joudry. I want to thank Roberta very much for taking this time to share the picture with us. It's for the Bridgewater area in Nova Scotia, where for tomorrow it's expected to be a mix of sun and cloud, a high temperature of 21 degrees, and a breezy northwest wind that'll be sustained 20, but with some gusts between 20 and 40 kilometers per hour. Day planner for tomorrow across the Maritime region. First thing in the morning, looking at fairly clear conditions in New Brunswick and Prince Edward Island, northern eastern areas of Nova Scotia. Then some partly cloudy conditions around the Atlantic coastline of Nova Scotia and into the southwest of that province. Most morning temperatures, high single digits and low teens, except cooler in the northwest of New Brunswick there, low to mid single digits. Frost advisory out for that northwestern quarter of New Brunswick tonight. High temperatures in the forecast for tomorrow. They're going to be mostly in the high teens and low 20s. We can expect a mix of sun and cloud for the afternoon. Low chance of showers, mostly eastern areas of New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, northern and eastern areas of Nova Scotia. But even for that part of the Maritimes, most communities with about a 20 to 30% chance of a shower. Northwest winds tomorrow, 20 gusting to 40 kilometers per hour. Let's find out what's coming up on Wednesday on Your Morning Atlantic.
Wednesday on Your Morning Atlantic, The Undesirables.
Author Katie Ingram shares details on her new book about Halifax's Rockhead Prison.
Start your morning with us Wednesday on CTV2.
And finally for us tonight, look way up for a unique view of Blue Nose 2. Photographer Len Wegg recreated a photograph he took 40 years ago. The image is of Blair Burgoyne, then a crew member of the famed schooner, climbing up the ship's main mast. Well, 4 decades later, for the two of them, they reenacted the stunt. It's the exact same shot. Look at this. Len tells me the only difference this time is they had the good sense to wear safety harnesses. That would be the result of age. The result, no less impressive. Congratulations to Len and Blair for both making it back up there. That is our look at the day here at home. Bruce Frisco will be in this chair at 11:30. CTV News Atlantic.ca has our coverage of the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation tomorrow, with reports on Live at 5 on Wednesday. I'm Todd Battis. We return here with your local news at 6 o'clock Wednesday evening. Until then, have a good night.
CTV News, the Maritime's #1 newscast.